I was tired of being weak, not because life was hard, but because I finally understood what weakness was costing me. You are younger than me, so let me save you some years. Weakness doesn't look the way you think it does. It's not crying. It's not failing. It's not needing help. Weakness is delay. It's knowing what needs to be done and convincing yourself you'll do it later. When I was your age, I thought time was on my side. I thought hesitation was patience. I thought comfort was stability. I was wrong. Weakness is the habit of choosing the easier option and calling it reasonable. You tell yourself, I get serious when things calm down. I'll change when I'm more ready. I'll push harder once I feel confident. That's not planning. That's avoidance with a schedule. Life doesn't punish weakness immediately. That's why it's so dangerous. It lets you live comfortably enough to stay the same. Day after day, you wake up capable of more and do just enough to get by. You don't fail. You stall. And stalling feels harmless until years pass and nothing has changed except your excuses. Here's the truth I learned too late. Weakness isn't about what you can't do. It's about what you keep tolerating. You tolerate low standards. You tolerate distraction. You tolerate becoming less than you know you could be. And you call it being realistic. I'm not here to motivate you. I'm here to warn you. Because I've watched people smarter than you, stronger than you, more talented than you, lose to one thing: comfort. They weren't defeated. They were unchallenged. They waited for motivation instead of building discipline. They waited for clarity instead of taking responsibility. They waited for confidence instead of earning it. And one day, they woke up older, with the same problems. That's the cost of weakness, not pain. Time. Time you don't get back. You think you're managing your life. You're not. You're negotiating with your potential. Every time you choose what feels good over what builds you, you're making a trade. And the price is who you could have become. I'm not telling you to be extreme. I'm telling you to be honest. If you keep doing what you're doing now, you already know where it leads. You don't need inspiration. You need to stop lying to yourself about why you haven't moved. Weakness isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It whispers. Tomorrow. Later. Soon. And it will say that until there is no later left. So hear this from someone who's already walked that road. The moment you recognize the cost is the moment weakness stops being comfortable. And once you see it clearly, you don't need motivation. You need a decision. Never again. You think weakness means failing publicly. It doesn't. Weakness is living privately, disappointed with yourself, and pretending that's normal. I've seen this pattern more times than I can count. You start strong. You promise yourself change. Then life gets busy and discipline gets negotiated. You don't quit. You just compromise. A little less effort. A little more comfort. A little more tolerance for things you said you wouldn't accept. That's how weakness survives. It doesn't attack you. It befriends you. It tells you you're doing fine. It reminds you others have it worse. It convinces you that pushing harder would be unnecessary, even selfish. So you settle, not because you're incapable, but because settling is quiet and doesn't demand courage. Let me tell you something I wish someone had told me early. Your future is built on what you do when no one is watching and nothing is urgent. When there's no deadline, no crisis, no pressure. That's when weakness shows itself. You scroll instead of building. You talk instead of acting. You plan instead of committing. And every time you choose ease over effort, you train yourself to need ease. You think discipline is about intensity. It's not. It's about standards. What you allow in your daily life becomes your identity. You allow laziness. You become careless. You allow excuses. You become unreliable. You allow comfort. You become fragile. And fragility doesn't show until life applies pressure. That's when people say, I don't know what happened to me. I do. Nothing happened. You just never prepared. You thought strength would arrive when you needed it. Strength doesn't arrive. It's built quietly, long before the moment comes. I've watched grown men break under pressure, not because the situation was impossible, but because their habits were soft. They lived unchallenged lives and expected hard moments to respect them. They won't. Life exposes what you practice. And right now, what you're practicing is delay. You delay responsibility. You delay discomfort. You delay the version of yourself you know you should be. And you tell yourself you're still young. Youth doesn't protect you from regret. It only delays it. Every year you avoid becoming stronger, weakness grows roots. Not in your body, in your thinking. You start believing effort should feel good. You start believing resistance means something is wrong. You start believing discipline is punishment. Those beliefs will ruin you faster than failure ever could. I'm not telling you to hate yourself. I'm telling you to stop excusing yourself. Because the world doesn't reward intention, it rewards execution. And execution doesn't care how you feel today. It only cares what you did. Weakness is expensive. Not immediately, not dramatically, but slowly, relentlessly, and without mercy. And the longer you carry it, the harder it becomes to put down. That's why I'm speaking to you now. Not when you're broken, not when you've lost everything, but while you still have a choice. Because once weakness becomes your identity, escaping it feels like betrayal. And most people would rather stay miserable than unfamiliar. That's the truth. When you're young, weakness hides behind potential. People tell you, you've got time. They say, you'll figure it out. They say, you're still learning. And you believe them. I believe them too. But here's what no one tells you early enough. Potential expires. Not suddenly. Quietly. It expires the moment you stop demanding more from yourself. Weakness loves potential because potential gives you permission to delay action while still feeling special. You think, I could be great if I wanted to. But greatness doesn't care what you could do. It only responds to what you do repeatedly. And let me explain something clearly. Weakness is not a lack of ability. It's a lack of standards under pressure. You already know what you should be doing. You already know what you're avoiding. You already know which habits are making you smaller. The problem isn't knowledge. It's tolerance. You tolerate inconsistency. You tolerate distraction. You tolerate being tired without being disciplined. And every time you tolerate it, you tell your mind, this is acceptable. Your mind listens. Your character listens. That's how weakness becomes permanent. I've watched people wait for the right moment to change. There is no right moment. There is only the moment when discomfort becomes more painful than regret. Most people wait too long. They wait until their body slows down. They wait until opportunities dry up. They wait until the mirror stops lying to them. Then they say, I should have taken it seriously earlier. Earlier was now. Earlier was every moment you chose comfort over effort. Weakness convinces you that discipline is extreme. It's not. What's extreme is living your whole life below your capability and calling it balance. You don't need to become ruthless. You need to become non-negotiable with yourself. Non-negotiable about your standards. Non-negotiable about your word. non-negotiable about the habits that build strength, because life will negotiate with you. It will offer you comfort. It will offer you excuses. It will offer you just enough pleasure to keep you distracted. Life does not care about your potential. It cares about your preparation. I've seen weak people in good situations fall apart. I've seen disciplined people in bad situations rise. The difference wasn't talent. It was who they had trained themselves to be before the pressure arrived. Weakness makes you reactive. You wait for motivation. You wait for urgency. You wait for fear to push you. Strength makes you proactive. You move when it's boring. You act when no one notices. You build when there's no reward yet. That's the part most people refuse to do. They want transformation without repetition, results without sacrifice, respect without discipline. That's not how life works. Life doesn't test you once. It tests you every day, in small, unglamorous decisions. Do you do the work when you don't feel like it? Do you keep your word when no one checks? Do you choose effort when comfort is easier? Those answers define you more than any big moment ever will. Weakness is built the same way strength is built. Daily, quietly, relentlessly. So don't tell me you're waiting for motivation. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. Don't tell me you're tired. You're tired because your life lacks structure, not because it's too demanding. Discipline doesn't drain you. Indecision does. Every day you hesitate, your mind stays at war with itself. And that war exhausts you. I'm not asking you to become someone else. I'm asking you to stop betraying yourself. Because every excuse you accept today becomes a limitation tomorrow. And limitations don't disappear on their own. They harden. You don't wake up strong one day. You wake up regretful or prepared. There is no third option. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner weakness loses its grip. Let me say this clearly, because someone should have said it to you already. Most people don't fail because life is unfair. They fail because they refuse to confront their own weakness. And you know exactly what I mean by weakness. Not the kind you post about. Not the kind you blame on trauma or circumstances. I mean the weakness you protect. The weakness you justify. The weakness you schedule your life around. The weakness you've made comfortable. You don't have a discipline problem. You have an honesty problem. You lie to yourself in ways that sound intelligent. You say you're burned out when you're actually undisciplined. You say you're overthinking when you're actually avoiding action. You say you're waiting for the right time when you're scared to commit. And because those lies sound reasonable, you keep them. That's how people stay weak for decades. You think being hard on yourself is dangerous. No. What's dangerous is being lenient with yourself for too long. Leniency is how standards die. You lower them once, just to rest. Then again, just to recover. Then again, just because you can. And one day you don't recognize the man in the mirror. Not because he failed, but because he never demanded anything from himself. Weakness isn't dramatic. It's quiet mornings where you hit snooze. It's plans you keep rewriting instead of executing. It's promises you stop taking seriously. And every broken promise to yourself trains your mind to stop trusting you. That's the part no one talks about. Self-trust is the foundation of strength, and you've been eroding it daily. So now, even when you want to change, your mind hesitates, because it remembers. It remembers how many times you said, "I'll start tomorrow." Weakness teaches your brain that your words don't mean anything. That's why motivation doesn't last for you. Your mind doesn't believe you anymore. You want to feel strong without becoming reliable. That's not possible. Strength isn't a feeling. It's a reputation you build with yourself. Right now, your reputation is damaged. You don't need more information. You don't need more videos. You don't need another motivational quote. You need consequences. Because weakness survives in comfort. The moment comfort disappears, weakness panics. That's why disciplined people build discomfort into their lives. Not because they enjoy suffering, because they understand something you haven't accepted yet. If you don't choose discomfort voluntarily, life will assign it to you brutally. I've seen this play out again and again. Men who avoided effort when they were young were forced into pain when they were older. Pain of regret, pain of limitation, pain of knowing they could have done more. And no amount of reflection fixes that. You can't think your way out of weakness. You have to act your way out. And action doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't wait for confidence. It doesn't ask if you're ready. That's why weak people hate it. Action exposes who you really are. You say you want change. Fine. Then answer this honestly. What are you doing every day that proves it? Not what you plan. Not what you talk about. Not what you intend. What you execute. Because execution is truth. Everything else is noise. You're not unlucky. You're undisciplined. You're not misunderstood. You're inconsistent. You're not stuck. You're avoiding the discomfort that would unstuck you. And the longer you avoid it, the more ruthless life becomes. Life does not reward potential. It does not care about your past. It does not pity hesitation. Life respects preparation. And right now, you're unprepared. Not because you can't be better, but because you've tolerated being less. That's the harsh truth. And if this hurts to hear, good. Pain that wakes you up is useful. Pain that you avoid will destroy you slowly. So stop asking how to feel motivated. Ask how to become non-negotiable. Because weakness doesn't leave when you feel inspired. It leaves when it's no longer allowed. And that decision, it doesn't come with emotion. It comes with a resolve. Quiet, cold, final, never again. Let me tell you something people only understand when it's too late. Life does not collapse all at once. It erodes. You don't wake up one day ruined. You wake up one day settled. Settled into habits you didn't choose consciously. Settled into a life that feels smaller than your thoughts. Settled into routines that don't challenge you anymore. That's the real danger. Weakness doesn't destroy you loudly. It lets you live long enough to realize you've wasted your strength. I've sat beside men in their 40s and 50s who finally became honest. Not with others, with themselves. They didn't talk about failure. They talked about avoidance. They said things like, I always knew what I should do. I just didn't do it. I kept waiting for the right version of myself to show up. I thought I had more time. Time is the most ruthless thing you will ever face. It doesn't warn you. It doesn't slow down. It doesn't care how good your reasons were. It just keeps moving forward, with or without you growing. Weakness tells you that tomorrow is guaranteed. It isn't. Tomorrow is borrowed confidence. And borrowed confidence always comes with interest. You pay it back in regret. You don't notice the payment at first. You pay it when your energy drops. You pay it when your options narrow. You pay it when your body can't carry what your mind finally understands. By then, discipline feels cruel instead of empowering. That's why strength must be built early. Not because you're scared of life, but because life doesn't wait for understanding. You think strength is aggression. It's not. Real strength is restraint, consistency, showing up even when no one is impressed. Weakness wants recognition. Strength is comfortable being invisible. Weakness wants permission. Strength moves without applause. Weakness wants to feel ready. Strength accepts feeling unready and acts anyway. And here's the part most people can't accept. If you don't force structure into your life, Chaos will do it for you. Structure feels restrictive when you're weak. Chaos feels exciting when you're careless. But later, structure feels freeing. Chaos feels exhausting. Every man eventually learns this lesson. The only difference is when early by choice or late by consequence. You can feel it now, can't you? That quiet pressure, that sense that you're capable of more, that discomfort when you waste a day. That's not anxiety. That's awareness. Most people numb it. They distract themselves. They explain it away. You're still listening. That means you're not done. But listening isn't enough. Understanding isn't enough. You don't change because a speech hits you. You change because you decide to stop tolerating who you are right now. Not with hatred, with clarity. Hatred burns out. Clarity endures. You don't need to punish yourself. You need to stop lying to yourself. Stop pretending you don't know what discipline looks like. Stop pretending your habits are temporary. Stop pretending effort will come naturally one day. It won't. Effort must be enforced every day, especially when you don't want to. That's the price of becoming someone you respect. And if that sounds harsh, remember this. The price of staying weak is higher. It costs you confidence. It costs you self-respect. It costs you the quiet pride that comes from knowing you did the work. Weakness makes life loud and chaotic. Strength makes life simple. Not easy. Simple. Do the work. Keep your word. Accept discomfort. Repeat. That's it. No secret. No shortcut. No special moment. Just a line you draw and refuse to cross again. I'm not telling you to change everything today. I'm telling you to stop negotiating with the part of you that wants to stay small. That negotiation never ends in your favor. You already know what to do next. If you don't do it, you'll hear this voice again one day. Not from a video, but from your own reflection. And that voice won't be calm. It will be angry. Not at life, at you. Let me tell you what weakness really steals from you. Not success, not money, not status. It steals authority over your own life. When you're weak, you're always reacting. Reacting to moods, reacting to stress, reacting to circumstances you should have prepared for. You don't lead your days. Your days lead you. And over time, that does something dangerous to your mind. You stop seeing yourself as the cause of your life. Start seeing yourself as the result of it. That's when responsibility feels heavy. That's when discipline feels unfair. That's when effort feels pointless. Because deep down, you no longer believe you're in control. I've seen that look. It's the look of someone who says, that's just how things are. No, that's just how things became. Because of choices you avoided making. Weakness trains you to outsource responsibility. You blame your past. You blame the system. You blame timing. You blame motivation. But notice something. Every excuse removes power from your hands. And powerless people always feel tired. You're not exhausted because life is hard. You're exhausted because you live without structure. Your mind is constantly deciding, negotiating, debating. Strong people remove decisions. They don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, what is required? That's it. Weak people ask how to feel better. Strong people ask what needs to be done. And here's the harsh truth. If you don't command yourself, something else will. Comfort will. Fear will. Distraction will. Other people's expectations will. You will live by default. And default lives always feel empty. I've watched people chase motivation their whole lives. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It lies to you when you need it most. Discipline doesn't lie. Discipline tells you the truth every morning. This is who you are. Prove otherwise. Weakness hates that question because it demands proof, not intention. You want to know why this hurts to hear because part of you already knows it's true. That part isn't cruel. It's honest. And you've been silencing it for years. You've been calling it pressure, calling it anxiety, calling it stress. It's none of those. It's conscience. It's the part of you that knows you're underperforming your own potential. And conscience doesn't go away. You can numb it, distract it, ignore it, but it waits, patient, quiet, relentless, until one day it becomes regret. And regret is heavy. Heavier than discipline, heavier than effort, heavier than discomfort. I've carried regret. Discipline is light compared to it. Discipline asks for hours. Regret takes years. Discipline asks for effort. Regret takes your peace. You think you're avoiding pain by staying weak. You're just choosing a pain that arrives later, when it's harder to fix. Here's the moment everything changes. If you let it, you stop asking, how do I feel today? And start asking, what would a man who respects himself do right now? Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. That question cuts through excuses instantly. Weakness has no answer for it, because weakness survives on delay. Strength lives in immediacy. Action now. Decision now. Standard now. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. And habits don't change through understanding. They change through enforcement. You enforce standards. You enforce routines. You enforce consequences. Not with anger, with certainty. That's what maturity actually looks like. Not emotion, not passion, not hype. Certainty, quiet, unshakable, non-negotiable. The day you stop negotiating with weakness is the day your life finally becomes yours. Until then, you're renting your own potential, and the rent is due every day. Let me tell you something no one tells you when you're young. Time doesn't wake you up. It exposes you. You think years will fix you. They don't. They only make permanent what you repeat. If you live sloppy, you don't grow out of it. You grow into it. Your habits harden. Your excuses mature. Your identity solidifies. One day you look in the mirror and realize you didn't fail overnight. You practiced this life. That's the realization that breaks men. Not failure, clarity. The moment you see exactly how you became who you are. And here's what hurts most. No villain, no betrayal, no unfair twist. Just a long line of small choices you justified. You weren't unlucky. You were undisciplined. I say that without cruelty because I've lived it. Weakness is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It whispers, rest today. Start tomorrow. You deserve a break. One more time won't matter. And every time you listen, you don't feel damage immediately. That's the trap. Weakness never charges up front. It invoices later, with interest. You pay in self-respect. You pay in confidence. You pay in presence. You start speaking less, standing smaller, avoiding eye contact. Not because you're shy, but because some part of you knows you're not living aligned with your own standards. People think confidence comes from success. It doesn't. It comes from keeping promises to yourself. Break enough of those, and even winning feels empty. I've seen men with money, with families, with status, and no spine. They laugh loud, talk big, but the moment they're alone, silence terrifies them. Because silence reminds you who you avoided becoming. You don't need trauma to be broken. Neglect will do. Neglecting your body, neglecting your mind, neglecting your word. That kind of damage doesn't bleed, so you ignore it. Until one day you realize you don't trust yourself anymore. And that's when life becomes dangerous. Because if you don't trust yourself, you start needing others to validate you. Approval replaces integrity. Comfort replaces purpose. Distraction replaces direction. You scroll. You consume. You numb. Not because you enjoy it, but because you're avoiding a conversation with yourself. A conversation that starts with one question. How did I let it get this far? That question hurts because it has an answer. And the answer isn't kind. But here's the part most people miss. That realization, as brutal as it is a gift. Because clarity is the last step before change. You can't rebuild what you won't admit is broken. You can't become disciplined while protecting the version of you that failed. You have to let that version die. Not dramatically, quietly. No announcements, no speeches, no motivation videos. Just a new standard, enforced daily. The strongest shifts in life don't come from emotional moments. They come from calm decisions. You never revisit. I don't do that anymore. I don't live like that. I don't negotiate with that voice. That's it. No anger. No revenge. No proving anyone wrong. Just alignment. You wake up. You do what needs to be done. You go to bed knowing you didn't betray yourself today. That feeling? That's real confidence. Not loud. Not flashy. Unshakable. And once you taste that, comfort loses its grip on you. Because weakness only survives when you keep forgetting what it costs. And now, you remember. Listen to me. I don't know how much time you think you have. I used to think the same way. I thought someday I'd feel ready. I thought life would slow down and give me space to fix myself. It doesn't. Life speeds up. Years start collapsing into each other. Months disappear. Faces change. Friends fade. And one day you realize you're no longer becoming someone. You're just maintaining who you already are. That's when panic starts. Because growth is optional when you're young. Later it's expensive. Pain didn't make you strong by default. Pain only revealed you. It showed you what you do when things don't go your way. It showed whether you lean into responsibility or hide inside excuses. Most people don't fail because life is hard. They fail because they refuse to let pain teach them. They only let it harden them. They become defensive, cynical, closed. They say, that's just how I am now. No, that's how you settled. Let me tell you the most valuable thing I've learned watching people age. Regret doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from knowing, deep down, that you lived below your capacity, not below someone else's expectations, below your own. That's the regret that wakes you up at night. Not mistakes, not losses, but moments you chose comfort, when discipline was available. Moments you chose silence, when courage was required. Moments you chose distraction. Instead of facing the truth about yourself, you don't get haunted by what you tried and failed at. You get haunted by what you never tried because that you were afraid of discomfort. Weakness feels harmless in your 20s. In your 30s, it feels inconvenient. By your 40s, it feels humiliating. By then, it has a voice. It says, this is just who you are. It's too late now. People don't really change. That voice is lying to protect itself. Because change threatens the identity you've been feeding for years. And here's the ruthless truth most people won't say. Nobody is coming to save you from the consequences of the man you're becoming. Not society, not your parents, not your partner, not God. Grace doesn't replace responsibility. You still have to carry your weight. Pain is not special. Everyone gets it. What separates men is what they extract from it. Some extract wisdom. Others extract bitterness. Some become sharper. Others become excuses with a pulse. The most valuable thing pain can give you is standards. Not motivation. Not anger. Standards. Standards for how you speak. Standards for how you show up. Standards for what you tolerate from yourself. Because once standards are set, you don't need hype. You don't need reminders. You act accordingly, even when no one is watching. Let me be clear with you. If you still need motivation, you are not committed. Commitment is quiet, boring, repetitive. It's waking up and doing the same hard things, long after the emotion is gone. And that's why most people never change. They keep waiting to feel different. You don't feel your way into a new life. You behave your way into one. Here's something I wish someone had told me early. Your future self is watching you right now, with either gratitude or disgust. Every small decision is a vote. Every excuse is a vote. Every disciplined action is a vote. You are voting every day for the man you will eventually be stuck with. And one day, voting ends. No extensions, no rewrites, just consequences. That's not meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Because if you're hearing this, you still have leverage. Pain already showed you what doesn't work. Now it's asking one question. Are you going to use me or waste me? You don't need a new personality. You don't need a new identity. You don't need to disappear from the world. You need to stop lying to yourself about what you already know needs to change. One habit, one boundary, one standard. Start there, not loudly, not publicly, privately, relentlessly. And understand this. The goal isn't to become cold. The goal is to become clear. Clear about who you are. Clear about what you tolerate.